I don't even know. I don't even. I was like, that. You may not think that right now, but that's easy. Just goes and
A lot of the chorus folks. I can put this one down some more too. Oh, I know. You chilly? There you go.
Thank you. I'll be careful.
Yeah, you guys can sit there. Is the camera?
I'm checking the power.
Okay. Oh, okay. It looks like it did it.
So that's what I'm gonna. Because I'm checking. When we first started, it was like 4 hours.
Now it's
We got
1.
to 2, so it's
Okay, it's good.
good.
That's good. Nice.
Yeah, you need to. At least you're trying to give you a spot for your coffee.
Okay,
I
no
don't know
worries.
how much I'm gonna need this, but I would like to have it for
Yeah, just check off what's done. I feel that.
And I've got YouTube going, of course.
Great. And I have YouTube up on here.
That's on.
Cool.
So I'm ready whenever.
Yeah, whenever. I think they'll start telling people to sit down. People are still trickling in. So, yeah. Great. So,
Good morning. Shabbat Shalom. So friends, I just want to address us a little bit before the service starts. First of all, welcome. You'll probably hear me say that a number of times, but it is really good to see all of you. And it has been, this may be the first time in over 2 years that this space has been as full as it is. And so I just want to say some words so that people are comfortable and you have a sense of knowing what is fine, all of those things. So, as a congregation, and like many congregations around the world, we are in the middle of assessing what our COVID guidelines are. If you want to know what the congregation is going to do, this Tuesday the board will be voting, will be assessing based on recommendations. So what actually happens today is kind of in this interim period because we wanted to be able to have as maximal experience for each and every bar mitzvah. And so today is a little bit of a special occasion, and we're in a little bit of no woman's land. It's about and so in saying that, this is the largest group of people that we've had in this space, and so I want to encourage people to do what's comfortable while we're likely moving into a mask optional phase. The suggestion is that folks who are either leading or doing a part, having an aliyah, to unmask so that it can be more easily heard and we can actually be able to see our Addison's face, that if it's comfortable for you to wear a mask, please do so. But at any point, like if you need to relieve yourself, it's hard to wear a mask for the 5 hours that the service will be. Make yourself comfortable. As you can see, that we have our windows open, and so there's a bit of ventilation. But it's a particularly cold morning. I've been singing all morning. I've been dreaming of a white bat mitzvah. And it's pretty special. You don't always get a little bit of snow to welcome us in. But so if you need to put on a coat, we have prayer shawls. If you need just to wrap yourself in some warmth, please do. If you need a double wrap, then double wrap. But really, make yourself comfortable and home, and also just have a little awareness of the comfort and the guests around you. That each of us, while we have our own individual preferences, we're part of a community this morning, and so we don't even all necessarily know each other. So probably in a moment before we start, I invite us just to turn to the folks around us and introduce ourselves. But what I also want to do is that we're gathered today, and some of us here are in person at Beit Kavirim, and some of us are on Zoom. So just want to give everybody on Zoom and on YouTube a warm welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is likely that the numbers of people who are welcome into the sanctuary will be increasing, and so if you're on Zoom, know that if it's comfortable to come into the sanctuary, because we have a number of Brit Mitzvah and Shabbat morning services, we would love to have you. And if it's comfortable to be on Zoom and on YouTube, please use the features in order to make sure that your presence is known and we can respond. And so we're so glad that everybody's here, and I want to especially give a warm welcome to all of Addison's family and friends who have joined us. It's particularly meaningful. And I know that many of us have been waiting for this time for quite a while, 2 years. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rabbi Joshua Lesser. I'm the Rabbi Emeritus of Congregation Beit Haverim. And today, in service leadership, I'm joined by our chorus director, Will Robertson, our outgoing music director, Ann Guerin, and of course, leading our service, our Read Mitzvah, Addison. Supporting folks on Zoom and on YouTube, we have our engagement director, Abby Garcia. I want to wave. Abby's also doing double, triple duty, helping things move within the congregation as well. And we also have Henry Lewis. Thank you, Henry, who's a member of Congregation Beit Haverim and also is engaging in our technology. So with them, we have great support. And for folks who are on Zoom, if you have any questions or you need a page number or there's something going on, please message the host. It will say Congregation Beit Haverim, I believe. Henry may even want to put in the chat right now a message so that folks know that they can reach you. And when we arrive at the Torah service, we have Shana Cohen, who will be Addison's tutor, who will join us in that leadership as well. And so, I said what I wanted to say about the virus. It is this persistent thing in our lives, but we have been patient, we've been resilient, and we're really here to celebrate. And I believe that we need as many celebrations as possible. And in thinking about that, even before we begin to pray and sing together, I know that there have been other occasions for our chorus to gather, but this is really our first Greek Mitzvah, so I'd love for us to say a Shehachiyanu and bless the space. I'm someone who's a big fan of saying, let's bless every moment in the midst of noting, because we've certainly felt the pain points. It's really important to acknowledge them. So with as many harmonies to the Shehachiyanu as possible, I'm going to invite us to sing this prayer. For those of you who are not familiar, it's a prayer that recognizes special endings and being grateful for being alive.
Melech haolam, Shehachiyanu v'kiyamanu v'hihiyanu lahazman ha'azeh. Amen. So, just want to say a few more words to folks on Zoom. We're glad that you're here. Please know that while we leave the services, Addison and her parents will not be able to interact with you directly. However, they will receive a copy of the video of your participation. And so they'll be able to read all of your notes of love and support that you are sending to them. And it's in some ways been a blessing, because you have one experience as you're leading and going through it, but to be able to actually watch it again with a community of folks offering messages of love and support. So know that your messages will be received. I encourage you to respond and interact throughout the entire service, and trust that your energy will impact Addison today, and your well wishes will be read and appreciated after the services. So by way of celebrating, let's give Addison some energy by waving our hands on Zoom and in person, and by putting some words of encouragement in the chat. And just, there's always a little anxiety. And so, I told Addison that often people say, imagine everybody naked, but that's weird when it's your family and friends. So just imagine them all wearing tutus. So picture yourselves in a tutu as we begin this morning. I'm going to invite you to join us in a wordless melody to warm up our voices, to connect this morning and create some spiritual community. da 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 da. Ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da da da. So this morning, we begin a new book of Torah. And so in many ways, it's fitting for a new chapter in a Brit Mitzvah's life. And while sometimes people find this book, Vayikra, which means, and God called, to be one of the more challenging books because it really goes into very great detail about all of the ritual sacrifice and the holiness code, some of which feels sacred to us, and some of us, in terms of our modern sensibilities, there are things that feel strange, kind of even offensive to us. What I love about our tradition, and particularly as Reconstructionists, and as you'll hear Addison in her interpretation of this Torah portion, we are an evolving tradition that we respect and we learn from our ancestors and our ancient tradition, but that we don't freeze our tradition in time and then hold it up. I would actually say that becomes idolatry. Instead, we continue to breathe life into our tradition, and that is, in that exchange, part of us continuing and expanding the holiness code. And so that there are things that we could learn from our ancestors, and then there's a responsibility, which I believe is part of what it means to become a Brit Mitzvah, to actually renovate, expand, create meaning, and even challenge some of the learning of our ancestors. And that all of it is a dynamic exchange. It's not a passive tradition. And I don't think that perhaps we'd even be standing here if it were a passive tradition, because Addison is anything but passive and has lots of thoughts and dynamic ideas. And so in many ways, in honoring this sacred moment, there are many ways that we recognize your strength and your leadership and what does it mean to move into Jewish adulthood. But symbolically, and I think very even tangibly, being presented with a prayer shawl, with a talit, is really a profound way to know that you get to claim your own sacred ritual space, and at the same time, you are wrapped with the love of your family, the love of your community, and the love of our tradition. And so it's really my pleasure to welcome your grandparents, Penny and Hank, to present you with your talit. You can speak first even before.
Hey, we say the prayer first?
You're going to offer some words first.
Addison, I know this has been a thing that you've been waiting for a long time. March 27, 2020 was when we were supposed to be doing this, and you have been doing it ever since, it appears. And you have worked so hard and have performed so well. Your mother and father are as proud as anybody could be. And your grandmother and I feel the same way. We love you madly.
I want you to remember certain things as you move into adult Jewish life. Integrity, honesty, kindness, compassion, lifelong learning, justice, and use your beautiful voice to speak for those who don't have as strong a voice. We love you a lot.
Amen.
Amen.
So for those of us who have not yet put on our talit this morning, Addison is going to lead us in the blessing as we join her. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hitatef b'tzitzit. So friends, please join me on page 151 and 150 as we read our morning intention. For the sake of the union of the Blessed Holy One with the Shekhinah, I stand here in body and mind to take upon myself the mitzvah. You shall love your fellow human being as yourself, and by this merit may I open up my mouth. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. We find our morning blessings on page 153.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim.
Remove sleep from my eyes and slumber from my eyelids.
Baruch atah
Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim. Who gives the bird of dawn discernment to tell day from night. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who stretches forth the earth upon the waters. Amen.
Baruch atah
Adonai Eloheinu,
Chei ha'olamim, who makes the blind to see.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who
Clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who makes the captive free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who raises up the humble. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who makes firm a person's steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who acts for all my needs. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who girds Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who crowns Israel with splendor. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who made me in your image. 160. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who made me of the people Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei ha'olamim, who gives strength to the weary. Amen. We find Elohai Neshama on page 165. This prayer invites us to reflect on our connection to our breath, to our soul. It's a moment where our tradition invites us to move a little bit into our interior and connect as we begin to move into a larger sense of connection with each other and prayer. And so we start here first. And then as you see, as we move into the next part of the service, we begin to expand these connections. So just take a moment, maybe take a breath. We've had a lot of layers of arriving. I'm going to invite our arrival to be a little bit more deep, a little bit more conscious, a little bit more celebratory and joyful. Please join us as Addison leads us with Elohai Neshama.
Elohai Neshama
Shenatata b'tehorahi. Elohai Neshama Shenatata b'tehorahi. Elohai Neshama Shenatata b'tehorahi. Tehorahi. Elohai Neshama Shenatata b'tehorahi. הנשמה שנתת בי טהוראי. אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהוראי, טהוראי. We move from morning blessings to Psukei de Zimra, which is our psalms of praise. In many ways, this is kind of our warm-up to move into the later part of the service. We begin with this recognition of the blessing of creation and really recognizing that we are partners in divine in being able to continue creation through our creativity. One of the ways of being creative this morning is by using our voices. And so this is a lovely 3-part chant. I'm going to invite those that are comfortable to find the part of the chant that speaks to you and to join in us as we blend our voices this morning. You'll find Baruch She'amar on page 177. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, 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 Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. So we move into a contemporary psalm, a psalm that was written by our chorus director, Will Robertson. It is called Beauty, and so in the part of the service where we focus on our connections to creation, it's fitting. I believe that to open ourselves to beauty is an important spiritual practice and should be approached as such. That there is a way where when we can attune to the beauty, particularly when we are aware of the challenges and the pain in the world, that it can be the part that strengthens us. When we are in the midst of suffering, sometimes we can tune out that the sun still rises and that the sun still sets, that spring, even in the midst of a little snow flurry, is emerging. And it really is never an all or nothing on one side or the other. And that to be able to open ourselves to beauty is an important restorative practice for us to be able to navigate and to honor and bear the pain and the suffering that exists in the world. And you'll hear it in these words. There's a tenderness that the beauty surrounds and wraps. And so I invite any of us who are holding any of that place of pain within to open ourselves to the beauty of this moment and the beauty of this psalm.
And please join me if you can, if you would like to, if you got the words. Everywhere there is beauty, and I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair. Come and soothe me, reach right through me. Hold me harder than I've ever known. Everywhere reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known. Seems like the cost of life is so much higher than what we had saved. A sea of frost and ice is trying to bury us under its weight. Just look around. Why is it that you're so afraid? Everywhere, everywhere there is beauty, and I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair, come and soothe me, reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known. A few dozen years to hang around and take things past where they were when we came. Some fly away, some run aground, some spin in circles, but if it's all the same, I'd rather walk. Will you help me find flowers on the way? Everywhere, everywhere there is beauty, and I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair, come and soothe me, reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known. Everywhere there is beauty, and I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair, come and soothe me, reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known. Everywhere there is beauty, I see beauty. Everywhere that I go, lift me up from despair, come and soothe me, reach right through me, hold me harder than I've ever known.
We move to our Shabbat Song. We find it on page 209, Tov Lahodot. Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon, hagid b'boker chatzdecha, ve'emunatecha b'leilot. Adonai, uzamer l'shimcha elyon, hagid b'boker chatzdecha, ve'emunatecha b'leilot. We turn to page 215 as the psalmist invites us to lift up our eyes and to seek out strength when we need help. Please join us in singing Esa Einai.
Esa Einai el Neharim me'ayin me'ayin ya'avo
Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz Esainai El Hehari Me'ayin Ya'avo Ezri Hey Esainai El Hehari Me'ayin Ya'avo Ezri Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Haaretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz. One of the things that Addison will be explaining to us about her Torah portion is that Vayikra begins with the lists of sacrifices. And what do we make of that in a contemporary time? And so there is a way where bringing our creative gifts is something that we offer up. This final psalm, Kol Hanshama Tehallel, Hallelujah, let every living voice or every living breath sing out the name of God. And I think that in many ways what it means is that as we breathe, as we move through this world, we are offering we have a choice, I should say, to offer some form of connection to the world around us. In this version, which also was composed and words added by our chorus director, you're going to hear these words, which made me think of that this perhaps is our offering this morning in many ways. You'll hear the words, offering as song. It is our fire and we'll make it climb, fanning the flames with your voice in mind. So we have this opportunity to honor this Torah portion in a real way by joining our voices and letting the energy rise as we connect, as we celebrate with Addison, as we find a way to honor what is worth honoring and what is sacred in this world. Please join us. You'll find Kol Hanshama on page 231.
Kol Hanshama Tehallel, Kol Hanshama Tehallel, Kol Hanshama Tehallel, Kol Hanshama Tehallel, Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Kol Hanshama Tehallel, 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 Kol Hanshama something alive inside this room. It's setting the strings of our souls in tune. You can feel it rise from the earth below, sure as that river of rhythm flows. It is our fire and we'll make it climb, fanning the flames with your voice and mine, singing with strength and with Kol Hanshama Tehallel. Tehaleluya. Kol hanshama, Tehaleluya. Kol hanshama, Tehaleluya.
We rise in body and spirit. We turn to page 245 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikadal v'hikadash shemei rabba Be'amad yivrahu tevim likmahu te B'hayechon yom echon Uvayedeho beit Yisrael
Ba'agala uvisman kahariv v'meru amen. Yeheshmei rabba mevorach le'olam le'om me'almaya yibarach.
Yitbara v'hishtaba B'pa'ar v'traman v'hitnaseh V'tadar v'taleh v'talo Shmei d'kudasha
Brechu
Le'ela min kol berhata v'shirata
Tushbechata v'nechemata Da'amiran be'alma V'meru amen. We continue to stand for the Barchu, which we find on page 247. It's my pleasure to invite Addison's uncle, aunt, and cousins, Paul, Raquel, Micah, and Kai, to come forward and open our ark. We join together on page 246 under the line. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And the blessing gives us strength and makes our visions clear. And the blessing gives us peace and the courage to dare. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. We can put the talit back on the Torah and close the ark. Please be seated. So friends, please join us in the middle of that page for the beginning of the Yotzer blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer ovrei choshech osei shalom ovrei et hakol. Blessed are you, Eternal One, our God, the Sovereign of all worlds, who fashions light and creates darkness, maker of peace and creator of all. Amen. I'd like to invite Addison's cousin to offer this continued alternative Yotzer reading on page 755. Welcome, Craig.
I look up to the sky and the stars, and down to the earth and the things that creep there, and I consider in my heart how their creation was planned with wisdom in every detail. See the heavens above like a tent, constructed with loops and hooks, and the moon with its stars like a shepherdess, sending her sheep into the reeds, the moon itself among the clouds, like a ship sailing under its banners, the clouds like a girl in her garden, moving and watering the myrtle trees. The dew mist, a woman shaking, drops from her hair to the ground. The inhabitants turn like animals to rest, their palaces are their stables, and all fleeing from the fear of death like a dove pursued by the falcon. And these are compared at the end to a plate which is smashed into innumerable shards.
Amen.
Amen.
We turn to page 273. As we begin to move towards some of the central prayers in our morning service, the Shema, we just had our blessing for nature, and we move into this blessing for love. I just want to invite us to take a moment as we hear this chant. It is meant to feel like it enfolds us in the sense of deep care. Ahava Rabba Ahavtanu are the words we chant, which mean we are loved in abundant love. And you'll find those words on page 273.
Ahava Rabba Ahavtanu, Ahava
Rabba Ahavtanu, Ahava Rabba Ahavtanu, Ahava Rabba Ahavtanu. We will not despair even in life's darkest moments, for we possess in the Torah the token of God's love. May our hearts be ever open to love. With grateful awareness of all the kindness and goodwill in the world, let us reach out to others. Then, whatever befalls us in life, we shall not feel forlorn or forsaken. May you never withdraw your love from us. Blessed are you, our God, who has shown eternal love to the people Israel. Please join me on page 275. V'ha'erinenu b'toratecha v'dahabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha v'yached levavenu li'ahava u'yira et shemecha v'lo nevosh v'lo nikalem v'lo nikashel li'olam v'ed ki v'shem בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו נגילה ונשמחה נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. One of the things as our congregation would go to the Stewart Detention Center, I recognize that part of how we have been engaging a frame as progressive Jews doesn't always fit. And that is that somehow we have the tools to change and fix or repair the world. And it's really important to recognize where we can bring a sense of tikkun. But sometimes when we overemphasize that, we overlook that there are some things that are not in our power to fix. And so we witness. If we've been watching the news, we know our own limitations. And so this quote from Pema Chodron, who's a Tibetan Buddhist nun, says that we don't set out to save the world. We set out to wonder how other people are doing and to reflect on how our actions affect other people's hearts. And I think that's a much more manageable way that we can navigate the world. But really, in addition to being Jews that support and find a vision of Tikkun Olam, I've offered, as we've gone down to Stewart Detention Center and really sat in a situation with folks, that there is not much that we can do in the immediate moment to change their circumstance. And instead, I say that we are Shema Jews, that we are Jews that witness. And in that witness, we recognize the oneness that connects us all. So we join together in the Shema on page 277.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, Beloho levaha, ubeho nafsheha, ubeho meodeha, vehayu hadavarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzaveha, hayom alavaveha, veshinatam levaneha, vedibarta bam, V'shitaha v'beitecha, u'v'leftecha v'derech, u'shalfecha u'v'kumecha, u'shartam le'ot al yadecha, ve'ayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'v'tavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'isharecha.
We continue with our prayer that seeks justice in this world, page 291, Michamocha.
Michamocha,
Elim Adonai, Michamocha, Nidar Bakodesh, Nora Tehila, Hosei Felet, O Hosei Felet. La 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la. Leolam ba'ed Adonai lo, leolam ba'ed, leolam ba'ed. Adonai Baruch Atah Adonai Baruch Atah Turn to page 774 for this reading on social action. Would like to invite Addison's friend Sanaya to come forward and offer this reading. Welcome.
Thank you.
It is not 774. Hold on.
It's right there.
Oh, this one. Okay.
Thank you. In Germany, the Nazis first came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, but I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. To make sure that this doesn't happen again, the injustice to anyone anywhere must be the concern of everyone everywhere.
For those who are able to rise in body or spirit, I invite you to do so as we turn to page 295 for the Amidah.
Open my lips, beloved one, and let my mouth declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov,
Elohei Sarah,
Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah.
El Hagadol Hagibor Hanoro,
Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, Zocher Chasei Avot Limod, U'mei Yukol Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo V'Ahava, Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'Yezrat Sarah, Amen.
Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai,
Rav Le'Oshiach,
Mashiva
Ruach U'Marid HaGashem,
Mekayel
Hayim B'Chesed, Mechayei Kol Chai B'Rachamim Rabim, Zomed Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, L'Shenei Avar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, U'Midom Elav, Melech Memid U'Mechayem, U'Matzliach Yeshua. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei Kol Chai.
We continue with the Kedusha on page 303. Nekadesh et shimcha b'olam kishem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom. Kakatuv al yad neviecha v'kara ze el ze v'yamar. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melo kol haaretz kivodo. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melo kol haaretz kivodo. Az b'kol ra'ash gadol, adir v'chazak mashmi'im, kol mitansim, mitan serafim, untam baruch yomegru. Baruch kivod Adonai min komo. Baruch kivod Adonai min komo.
מיקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך, מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור לנצח נצחים. בעינינו תירנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור הללויה. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גדלך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גדלך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך, קדושתך נגיד. והשיבך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We continue silently to the bottom of page 323, and/or we offer our own private prayers and meditation. When you are finished, please feel free to be seated. The final prayer of the Amidah, which we just said, is one asking for peace. And so in a moment, we're going to hear this prayer sung that is this call and response that invites us to listen for and respond in ways of peace. And so I offer this prayer for the people of Ukraine this morning. Holy One, source of strength, war has begun and innocent people are dying. We ask your protection for Ukraine and its citizens. We pray for their safety and the security of the country and for the neighboring countries, Hungary, Poland, and Romania, among others, that have opened their borders to provide humanitarian corridors and safe passage for all who wish to and are able to evacuate. We seek the comfort of believing that everything will be all right, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Quiet the fears that threaten to make us unable to hear. Grant us shleimut, the inner peace that we so desperately seek. Help us remain calm and reach out to those in need. May this horrific situation be diffused swiftly with minimal casualties. Bless our world leaders with the ability to work together for the greater good and the wisdom to make wise decisions during this turbulent time. Bless the people of all nations with the desire, strength, the courage to create a world based on justice and filled with peace. May the words of Isaiah, "Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore," become true in our day, in this very hour.
in the Ukraine and all over the world. Source of goodness, shine your healing light upon us and all those that we hold in our hearts. Shelter us, shield us, show us the path to peace. May we each be inspired to use our unique gifts to usher in an era of enduring peace. And let us all say, Amen. Amen.
Odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, ve'akulam. It's back.
Odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu,
Salam aleinu ve'akolam, salam shalom. Salam aleinu ve'akolam, salam shalom. Odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, ve'akulam. Odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, ve'akulam. Shanti aleinu ve'akolam, shanti shalom. Shanti aleinu ve'akolam, shanti shalom. Odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, ve'akulam. Odiavo, 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 ve'akulam. Salam aleinu ve'akolam, salam shalom. Everybody. Salam aleinu ve'akolam, salam shalom. Odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, odiavo shalom aleinu, ve'akulam. Odiavo odiavo shalom aleinu, ve'akulam.
Ken Yeh Ratzon. May it be the will. So we're about to transition to our next part of our service, which is our Torah service. And so I want to just invite folks on Zoom. This would be a great time for some words of encouragement to go back. Addison shortly is going to be not only carrying the Torah throughout the congregation, but will also be chanting from the Torah and then offering some words of wisdom to all of us. So Addison, I'm going to invite you to come back up here as much as you might want to stay seated. But it would be really lovely to have our community beyond this room offer some words and some excitement about hearing Addison read from the Torah. And in thinking about that, I had a vanity moment of like, oh, great. It's only in this like new world that any of our services have been recorded. So like now I can go back and watch myself cry on YouTube. Yes, well, so, one of those things where you just watch it over and over again. Wow, the rabbi ugly cried. The pain of the world. So friends, we turn to page 383 as we slowly work our way to opening up the ark and binding the community through words of Torah. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai v'ein k'ma'asecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai ohuz li'amohu yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom. Av harachamim heitiva birtzonecha et Zion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim, Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki vecha levad batachnu, melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olamim. So we're really excited to invite Shane, Tina, and Alex, family friends from St. Thomas, to come forward and open the ark. And so I'm going to ask all of us to rise. Shane was at Darcy's bat mitzvah when Darcy was 13. It's so special that they flew from Atlanta to St. Thomas during these COVID times to be here for this moment. Thank you. And unfortunately, Gabriella cannot join us because she's literally taking the SATs at this moment. So we're offering her our good wishes and prayers for success. Please join me on page 385. Vayhi bin Soharon, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, Ve'yavutzu oivecha, Ve'yanusu misanecha, Mipanecha, Ki Zion tetzei Torah, Ki Zion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai, V'Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'Kiddush Shabbato.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please respond with me on page 393.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shema.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlul Adonai iti, uneromema shemo yachdav.
Adonai HaGedula, HaGebura, HaTiferet, VeHaNetzach, VeHaHod. Ki kol hashamayim u'haaretz, Ki kol hashamayim u'haaretz. Adonai Olam
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. My name is Effie Batan, and I am honored to serve as the Gabbai Rishon for Addison's Bat Mitzvah. And as the Gabbai Rishon, I will be sort of your guide for the Torah service today. And we're going to hear Addison chant from the Torah portion, Parshat Vayikra, which is found in the book of Leviticus. And Shana Cohen, who is Addison's Torah tutor, will serve as Gabbai Shani and ensure that we are chanting every word of the Torah correctly. The Torah portion is divided into 7 sections, and Addison will be chanting 3 of those sections. Each section is separated by reciting blessings, known as an aliyah. And you can follow along on page, I don't think the program was paginated, so it's the one that has a lot of Hebrew and has Parshat Vayikra at the top of it, okay? I invite you to follow along either in the Hebrew or in the English. So Addison, before we begin, I want to invite you to look around at all of your family and all of your friends who have come here to be with you. Your community is here with you today as an expression of their love for you. And I am personally honored to be here to celebrate with you as you mark your transition into Jewish adulthood. Finally, huh? I know you have worked very hard to prepare for this day, and it has been so lovely to see how you have embraced your place in our community since you were just a little girl. Okay? And it's always wonderful to hear your voice in singing and otherwise. Okay. So now, as we begin the Torah chanting, I will call up those who will recite a blessing in Hebrew before and after each reading. And as I said before, this practice is known as an aliyah. You'll find the Torah blessings on page 399 in your Siddur, in your prayer book. As a Reconstructionist synagogue, the Torah blessings have been modified slightly to de-emphasize the notion of chosenness. And instead, we talk about the Jewish people having been called to God's service. For those who have an aliyah, please say the blessing in the manner that is most comfortable to you. And we have a sheet with both the Reconstructionist and the traditional blessings up here. So to begin with the first aliyah. Ta'amdu, Miriam Leah bat Dovid, Shifra Gittel bat Chaim ve'Miriam Leah, Bracha bat Esther Ruchel ve'Yakov. Please rise, Matt and Sarah Weiner, Agatha and Olivia Walker, Barbara Katz and Maggie Cohen, friends of the family for the first aliyah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Lamo Yisrael B'Kedushato.
Vayikra el Moshe, Vaydaber Adonai Elav Me'oel Moed Lemor, Daber el Bnei Yisrael V'martach Alehem Adam, Ki akriv mikem Korban Adonai Min habehema, Min habakar Umin hatzon Takrivu et korbanhem, Imala korbano min habakar, Zakar tamim yakrivenu el petach, O el moed yakriv oto, Lirtzona lifnei Adonai.
Sarah or Matt, if you'll take your seats here. Both of you. Close. Do a little fix. So I'm going to COVID times, that maybe 2 of you kind of come over here, and then the rest of you can be seated to represent.
Ya'amdu Chayadobi bat Chaim Leib V'tova Peril. Aaron, Ben, Carl, Audrey, please rise. Darcy and Aaron Cody, proud and happy parents for the second Aliyah. And before Darcy and Aaron recite the Torah blessing, there's a special addition to the service.
So one of the things that is very special is that growing up, neither Darcy nor Aaron received a talit. And so in many ways, this Aliyah will be the first time that they'll be enfolded in their own talit presented by Darcy's parents. And so just wanted to invite this special moment for us to be able to say yet another Shechianu. So if you can even bring more harmonies this time. But also, you know, as I will share momentarily, this is a life cycle for the 2 of you as well, and even more so. And so in the ways that you have shepherded Addison in her Jewish journey, may you feel enfolded in this moment to continue and think about what your Jewish journey is as well. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'echianu, v'hi imanu, v'higianu l'azman hazeh. Amen. So we recite the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hitateh b'tzitzit. Amen. Let's go over there so we can see Addison read. So, I'm going to invite your first act with your talit to kiss where Addison is going to read. So Addison, if you'll point to them.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirvanu levodato, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noti ha'Torah. Amen.
V'samach yado rosh haolah, v'nirtzach lo lehaper alav, v'shat et ben habakar lifnei Adonai, v'hikrivu b'nei Aharon hakohanim et hadam, v'zarhu et hadam al hamizbeach saviv asher petach Ohel Moed, v'hivshit et haolah, v'nitachota lintaheha.
Pointing. You're going to touch it one more time.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'hayei olam nata b'toheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Ta'amod Elena Eden Bat Aaron V'chaya Dovi La'aliyah Hashlishit. Please rise. Addison the Bat Mitzvah for the third Aliyah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirvanu la'avodato, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'natnu b'nei Aharon haKohen eish al hamizbeah ve'arhu eitzim al ha'eish ve'arhu b'nei Aharon haKohanim et hanetahim et harosh ve'et hapader al ha'eitzim asher al ha'eish asher al hamizbeah Vikirbo uchra'av yirhat ba'mayim vehiktir hakohen et hakol hamizbeha ola isha rakni hoa ladonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher nata lanu Torah temet, v'hayei olam nata b'toheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
So while the Torah is out, we say a series of blessings. And the first is a blessing for healing. And here at CBH, it is our custom to say aloud the names of those for whom we are reciting the Mishaberach before we join together to say the prayer. So if you wish, please now say out loud the names of anyone you are thinking of who is in need of healing, whether of body, mind, or spirit.
And for those on Zoom, if you'll put the names in the chat and on YouTube, please say the names now.
Please join me in this call and response. Avotenu Kor HaChaim Leimotenu Uyevareh Ve'yirafeh Et HaCholim Et HaCholim Et HaCholim Et HaCholim El Narefana 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 Mishevera Avotenu Kor HaChaim Leimotenu Uyevareh
Our second blessing is for Addison, becoming a bat mitzvah. And if you want to please join me in our traditional blessing for the Brit Mitzvah on page 414. May you live to see your world fulfilled. May you be our link to future worlds, and may your hope encompass all the generations yet to be. May your heart conceive with understanding, may your mouth speak wisdom, and your tongue be stirred with sounds of joy. And may your gaze be straight and sure, your eyes be lit with Torah's lamp, your face aglow with heaven's radiance, your lips expressing words of knowledge, and your inner self alive with righteousness. And may you always rush in eagerness to hear the words of one more ancient than all time.
Amen. So
And
as I
now-
mentioned earlier, as I mentioned earlier, and this is the third blessing that I was going to share, is that this I recognize is not just a life cycle moment for Addison, but really also one for parents, and that this is a family celebration in many ways. And so I have a special blessing for you, Aaron, and for you, Darcy, and Addison, if you will join them. Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov V'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel, bless Aaron and Darcy, parents of Addison. May they be guided when to pull their daughter close and when to let her go. May they find the way to honor her for the child that she still is and the adult that she is becoming. Grant them joy to celebrate all of her successes and guide them to support her when she is challenged. Grant Darcy and Aaron, along with Addison, a length of days so that they may rejoice together in happiness and peace. And let us all say, Amen. Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha, Kain yehi ratzon, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'kunecha, Kain yehi ratzon, Yisa panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, Kain yehi ratzon. May God bless you and protect you. May God's face shine upon you and show you favor. And may God's face turn towards you and bring you peace.
We now begin the process of returning the Torah to the Ark, which can be found on page 407. Okay. Please rise as I call forward the Torah lifter and Torah dresser. Ya'amud ha'hagba. Please rise, the Torah lifter. Howard Weiner. Ta'amud haglila. Please rise, the Torah dresser. Toba Penny. And as the Torah is lifted, we rise and sing the second line on page 407. Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael mi'Adonai beyad Moshe. Tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad hine ma tov yadada 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 hine ma tov
be seated. As you notice, and I can hear, candy has been passed out or is being passed out. Yes, I was going to. So this candy is our opportunity after Addison offers her words of Torah for us to shower her with metaphoric sweetness and blessing. And so if you eat it, you're not going to be able to, or you wouldn't want to then throw it at her. So if you really need a little sustenance, which, I can understand, take two. And don't tell the rabbi I said that. But what I'm also going to ask you to do is to put the candy to the side on your chair as you can begin to hear kind of the crinkling and the crackling of the plastic paper. And, even as adults, many of us do not love public speaking, unless you're a rabbi and then. And so, as we have someone entering Jewish adulthood, for us to be able to provide a loving, warm, and non-distracting environment is really important. And so as we do that, again, want to invite folks to offer either your insights to Addison's Devar Torah on things that speak to you on Zoom and on YouTube, or even just wish her some koach as she offers that. She is going to read slowly and loudly so that we can hear her. And let's give her a little energy. Okay, so those of you not raising your hands means you're still holding on to your candy, and perfect. So I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath and maybe even a little sip of water, and we are ready to receive your words of Torah.
In my Torah portion, Vayikra, the Torah sets out rules for sacrifices that the Israelites were required to make to God in the temple. There were many rules: the types of sacrifices, the proper animals for each type of offering, the steps involved in each offering, who is permitted to make sacrifices to God, and so on. But then the temple was destroyed, and the practice of sacrificing animals in the temple was no longer possible. More than that, to me, the idea of slaughtering animals for sacrifice seems cruel and unrealistic. So what does Vayikra mean today? What are the teachings that we can take away in this modern world where the temple has been destroyed and the Jewish people no longer engage in animal sacrifice? The point of sacrificing animals was to deepen one's connection with God. How do we do this today? After the temple was destroyed, the rabbis asked the exact same question. The rabbis teach that one way to honor God, or from my perspective, to commit oneself to Judaism, for those who may not believe in God, is to study Torah. And here I am today, having a bat mitzvah, and talking to you about my Torah portion and what it means to me. But that's just studying, and the rabbis tell us studying the Torah is not enough of a sacrifice. So what must we, as Jews, do? In addition to studying Torah, we are called to engage in Gemilut Hasadim, or to perform acts of love, kindness, grace, and compassion. Gemilut Hasadim is the commandment for people to do mitzvahs or good deeds without expecting anything in return, not even a thank you. Gemilut Hasadim is about personal attitude, effort, and sacrifice, not about giving money. You do a good deed for one reason and one reason only, because it is the right thing to do. Of course, there's multiple ways to sacrifice your time, love, and hard work. As someone who is involved with their school community, it can be hard to find time to do this act of sacrifice. Since December, I dedicated my time and energy to play practice for Mamma Mia every day after school. I also participated in Georgia All-State for 3 days in February, which took months to prepare for. I have school every day with tons of homework, quizzes, and tests. I do jazz choir, manage the boys' varsity soccer team, and spend time trying to be a good friend. Doing all of this had an immense impact on my mental and physical health, especially with COVID. You might ask, how do I have time to commit myself to the act of sacrifice? Needless to say, I make little time to dedicate to others. My mother and I pack care packages, large Ziploc bags for homeless people. We include your normal hygiene products, food, hand warmers, and an article of clothing. When we spot someone who's homeless, we hand a package to them. When I was little, I used to draw a picture or write a note to put inside the Ziploc bag. I don't do that part anymore, but we still give out the care packages. When I was around 7 years old, my mom and I saw a homeless person under a bridge. We didn't have a care package in the car, so I begged my mom to go to McDonald's and buy him a meal. We went through the drive-thru, bought some food, then we drove back under the bridge, but the man was gone. I burst into tears and begged my mom to find him. I felt this overwhelming feeling of sadness because I wanted to be there to help him. When I was little, I was so caring and helping to others. Not that I'm not caring now, but back then I was a real mensch. I made my mother drive around Atlanta to find someone to give the McDonald's to. We found someone and my happiness soared through the roof. I guess back then I felt pleasure in helping others. I felt waves of happiness when I could spend my time caring for people who were in need. As part of my Tikkun Olam project, I went to Stewart Detention Center and talked to a very nice immigrant from Cameroon who was seeking asylum in America. He'd been locked up for months and had not met anyone in the outside world. Giving up my time was a way to help make his life a little better. I enjoyed the many stories that we exchanged, and I hope to reach out to him in the next year. I also worked at Mensch Board to sort medical supplies for people in countries with fewer resources. The time I spent sorting medical supplies will help save the lives of countless people around the world. I also build dog houses for dogs who live outside because I believe in saving animals, not sacrificing them. Compared to people or animals I am trying to help, my sacrifice is nowhere close to theirs. I live a very privileged life compared to the people who I spend time helping. You heard me complaining about how I have so much to do. However, I should be glad that I only have to sacrifice the small things. Around the world right now, there are thousands of children close to my age having to flee from Ukraine. There's the Syrian refugee crisis, world hunger and poverty, sex trafficking, and so many other problems. I'm so lucky to live a life where I can sleep in my bed without fear. I go to a nice school, have a beautiful family, and have so many loving friends. So, should we really consider my action to be a sacrifice, or instead as acts of justice that we are commanded to do? The word for charity in Hebrew is tzedakah, which comes from the same root as the word justice. Maybe these obligations we must all take on are the rent we each owe as citizens of the world. So what does Vayikra teach us besides the need to study Torah? It commands us to pursue justice. How can you sacrifice your time to help those around you? If you don't have any money to give, you can donate time or goods. People need food, shelter, or clothing. Work on a project that helps produce better government or civic improvement. For example, volunteer for a political campaign or call your elected officials. Work to preserve the natural beauty of a neighborhood. You can pick up trash, plant trees, or help beautify a park. Here are other simple ways to help around your community and sacrifice your time for a good cause. You can recycle. For kids, you can help your family in your home. You can honor the Sabbath, bake challah, light Shabbat candles, care for the ill, spiritually or physically. Think of cooking them a meal or visiting them in the hospital. Say Kaddish and help comfort mourners. March for a cause you believe in. Immigration, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ rights, whatever interests you. Treat someone with respect who you may not feel much respect for. Apologize when you hurt someone, whether intentionally or accidentally. Help someone without accepting any reward, not even a thank you. Sacrifice is the ability to help and protect others for their sake, not yours. If you engage in acts of sacrifice only for yourself and think selfishly about it, then the act is flawed. The point is to give selflessly. By giving up your time or your goods to benefit someone else or something else, then the possibilities are endless. Life is full of boundless possibilities and opportunities to engage in an act of sacrifice. But to transform something from merely possible to reality, we have to choose sacrifice. Nothing is gained without relinquishing. Sacrifice is easier when you stay focused on what we are choosing to do and why we are doing it, rather than what we may be personally giving up. Thank you so much to everyone at CBH for helping to make my bat mitzvah experience the best it could possibly be, especially given the craziness of COVID. Thank you to all my Sunday school teachers who have prepared me for this big moment. Thank you, Shana, for tutoring me in my Torah portion and for being my Gabbai Shani. Thank you, Rabbi Josh, for being a part of my journey ever since I first walked into this synagogue. Thank you, Will, Gayan, and everyone in the chorus for making the music so special and beautiful every day. A special thank you to all the out-of-towners who came to Atlanta just to be here with me. It means so much to me and my family. Thank you to my family and friends who are always there to support me, even when I make questionable decisions. Thank you, Dad, for always pushing me when I do not believe in myself. I appreciate all the fun memories that we've made. I love you. And to my mom, thank you for being the best support system I could ask for. I love you so much. You mean the world to me.
Mazel tov. Simen tov. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Simen tov. Simen tov. Mazel tov. Simen tov. Ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu. Ulecho Yisrael. Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, Yehelanu. So I'd like to invite children of all ages to come and pick up candy, and this is your time to eat it now. I did say of all ages, so, you know. I think there's a $10 bill in one of these candies. No, shit. So, friends, after we've heard some moving words of Torah from Addison, we have some opportunities to reflect what this moment means to the life of our community and to the life of her family. And so I'd like to invite a member of our education community and of our chorus, Ariella Friedman, to offer some words.
Here's the candy handed to you, not thrown at you. Mazel tov, this has been so beautiful. I am giving you this. This is a Kiddush cup for you, so I'm spoiled the surprise of what's in there. As a representative of our congregation and our community school, and I hope you use it on many Shabbats, many Simchas to enjoy and think of all of us. I also want to say I hope that you use some of those gifts and talents either in the chorus, there's always a place for you, or maybe to manage our softball team, the Ben Gays. You can use all those talents there. We're so happy to have you in our community, and Mazel Tov, so happy to celebrate with your family.
Aaron and Darcy.
This way and use them closer to the microphone.
So Addison, this is your Mensch Board. You made this on your very first day of CBH Community School when you were in kindergarten. And needless to say, you were a lot shorter. This was an outline of your body. I'm not sure about the blonde hair you picked, but... And for about 2 years, we put stickers on your Mensch Board every time you did a good deed or did something menschy. And I've looked at the woman who you're becoming as you move into Jewish adulthood and at the mensch that you are. A good friend, somebody who still votes and goes with me to voting and is disappointed that your first time you can vote won't be a presidential election because it's something you're so committed to. And taking care of animals and being patient. so many wonderful things because you have so many wonderful qualities. And so I wish for you, as you go on in your life and in Judaism, for you continue to be a mensch, for you to do all of the things that you talked about in your devar, in pursuing justice and making the world a better place for all of God's children, and being a good friend to your friends, and being a daughter I couldn't be more proud of. I love you.
Oh, that was awesome. Okay, I'm going to do it this less is more theory, so I'm not going to embarrass her or anything like that. I want to thank everyone here. 714 is the magic number. It has been 714 days that we waited for this to happen. And so it has been a journey to get here. And I think the word I used last night was resilient. And I want to thank all of you for being that pillow for her, because she could have easily just done Zoom, and she was like, no. And if it didn't happen this year, she would have waited. It could have been 18, 19, 20. We would have just kept changing the program. But that's what really makes me proud of her. And so that's really as much as I'm publicly willing to say about this wonderful person who I am proud to be her dad. And I am proud of my girls in the back there, War Eagle. You guys give yourselves a little shout out there. That's Woodward Academy, because yes, when she was, a little story, when she was in Montessori, yes. Yes, I know. One little story, all right. Montessori, as you might know, is a little small environment. It's a great environment, and that's all she knew. And I did not know. You may or may not know me well enough to know that I kind of am a big city individual who crowds are great. You know, public speaking can be occasionally, you know. And so her transition to Woodward was something that I was a little nervous about. And she has, with flying colors, she's a senator and all that good stuff. And so, yes, I'm very proud of her, but I will not embarrass her anymore. So, thank you. And that's about it.
Do you have a 5th grade story?
I'm not,
a
no.
7th grade story?
I could. No. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I got it. So Addison, you're not quite done. I also have some words that I want to share with you. As we gathered for your rehearsal, and as I said to you, that similar to what your father just said, to me, it wasn't, I really wanted all of our children to feel empowered by their choices, whether it was to have their ceremony on Zoom and do it in a way that was meaningful, or to be able to do it in person. But when you wait 700 plus days, it's really easy to understand how it may lose its relevance. It may not seem to be top of mind, particularly when somebody's preparing for Mamma Mia and managing all of these kinds of things. I could see how for some kids waiting 2 years, the need or the desire or their hope to have a bat mitzvah might lessen or wane over time. And so I really have appreciated how important this has been to you, how it is in some ways a natural flow of who you've been in this community, and how you will step up into being a Jewish adult. I want to say that, what your parents didn't say, but what I feel very aware of and kind of carried through this 700 days is that you were one of the early people to come down with COVID, and that we were really concerned about your health and your well-being. And so for me, it is, some of my tenderness today is to see you strong and healthy and vibrant is really incredibly important, because it felt really scary when you navigated COVID and then its after effects. And it's been those after effects that we don't necessarily talk about as a community, but something, your health and well-being has been on my mind through this time, not just your spiritual well-being, but your actual physical well-being. And so we're very grateful for that. And thinking about your spiritual well-being and thinking about this community and thinking about the opportunity that I have, feeling honored to be the rabbi officiating at this ceremony, is that not only did COVID hit, but this wave of recognizing the kinds of injustice. I think your family, many people, but the world saw how unjust our criminal justice system is, particularly to Black and brown people. And so in that first wave of COVID, the Black Lives Matter movement, which we have been supporting for a while, rose to a world stage in many ways. And so for you to kind of have that experience woven into this time feels really important to acknowledge, because one of the things that, at least in my rabbinate here, has been incredibly important is to acknowledge and honor the breadth and the diversity of our Jewish peoplehood. And that there is a way where, for a long time, we've only told part of the Jewish story, and that Jewish story hasn't always reflected what you've looked like. And so for our children and for our community and for the health of actually the Jewish people, we have had to take a deep look at who we are and begin to commit to telling a fuller story and make space for the Jewish leadership that's been emerging of Jews of color for a long time, but who, particularly after the global Black Lives Matter movement emerged, the Jewish community is different. So even if you had your bat mitzvah 2 years ago, I couldn't say to you what I'm about to say, which is that the Jewish community today now has nearly a dozen rabbis of color who are leading, but more importantly, organizations, boards. There isn't a relevant Jewish communal existence that isn't looking deeply at how to integrate and how to actually reimagine what this world will look like and be with a fuller expression of Jews of color. And in some ways, so what, right? Because while the rest of the Jewish community is trying to figure out how do we repair what the absence and the invisibility that we've caused, Jews of color are organizing themselves and speaking loudly and taking Judaism to a new place. So in whichever way you want to identify or connect in the world, you now have a generation of Jewish leaders, maybe 10 to 15 years older than you, not much, who are leading a vanguard of a new vision of Jewish communal life. And so I'm so excited that you as a bat mitzvah have an opportunity to figure out what is your contribution in an authentic way that invites and expects all of your identities to show up so that you can help create a world not just for the Jewish community, but that recognizes the importance of the equity and the equality of all people. And so, to me, that's what it means to have waited 2 years. So much has changed and is changing. And we look to your leadership. And I think that it can start here, because no community is perfect. And this community has room to learn from our Jews of color in terms of what is next for us. So I just want to say Mazel Tov. I'm incredibly proud of you. I appreciate your heart. I appreciate your eye towards justice. And I appreciate your commitment to blue and your sense of, we've been able to have some fashion conversations. I didn't even expect it, right? Some makeup tips in terms of the videos that we were watching together. So it's the benefit of having a gay rabbi, just so you know. Always unexpected. But in many ways, knowing that this I'll share a little bit more. Knowing that this congregation was founded, recognizing how important it was for the margins to move to the center, I'm looking forward to what your voice means in our Jewish community. Very proud of you. Mazel tov. So friends, we are near the conclusion of our service. We're going to open the ark, and I'm going to invite your great uncle and aunt, Richie and Lisa, to come and open the ark as we rise and sing on page 441, Eitz Chaim Hi. Eitz Chaim Hi, La'am Hazikim Lam, V'Tov Checha, Me'Yerusha, V'Rachecha, Darchecha, V'Chon Tivotecha, Shalom, Hashiveinu Adonai, Elecha Menashuvah, Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu, Kadesh Yameinu, The ark remains open for one more prayer. Page 445 is the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shareach ha'adon ha'ol, ha'teinu la'yotzeh b'reishit, shenata lanu Torah ha'temet, v'chayei olam ata b'tocheinu, v'nachnu kolim, v'nishtachavinu rodim, li'eleh, ma'afrei ha'machim, ha'kadosh Hagachtu b'toratecha Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar, V'haya Adonai, V'melech al kol ha'aretz, V'ayom hahu, V'ayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'shemo, U'shemo, Please be seated. So the Aleinu, fittingly towards the end of the service, speaks about a future time where the benefits of the kinds of justice that we've been talking about this morning allow for a world to exist in a sense of wholeness. And so this song by Matisyahu, One Day, speaks of that kind of future as we look towards what is possible.
One day, sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will pray one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. It's not about win or lose, 'cause we all lose when
when they feed on the souls of the innocent, blood-drenched pavement. Keep on moving though the waters stay raging.
In this maze you can lose your way, your way.
It might drive you crazy, but don't let it faze you, no way, no way. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play one day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day.
One day this all will change, treat people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate.
One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom live. One day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play one day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day. One day.
So you'll find the prayer for the end of hiding at the inside cover of your prayer books. I'll be reading a slightly different version of it that we of our community have evolved. We're slowly changing it in our prayer books as well. But this prayer has been an important one in our community because it really honors the founding of this congregation. We were founded 36 plus years ago as a synagogue serving LGBT Jews. And today we find ourselves not just serving the gay, lesbian, bisexual community, but also trans folks, non-binary folks, and straight folks as well. I've kind of always joked that straight folks need welcoming synagogues too. And even though that sounds funny, and I've often used that as a joke, you might have figured out I'm a little funny here and there, is that it recenters the conversation. That there is a way where, we often think that it's the center that welcomes the margins rather than the margins that welcome the center. And so for me, while this honors the history of our community in terms of how it was founded, it to me also reflects the future of who we are. And it is because this is a prayer that helps us remember how the community that we want to create, and we're not quite here, that this is a prayer that points to a future time. But it's also, I would say, a philosophy of how we raise our children. That we want our children to understand that they can have an authentic sense of self-expression and identity such that they can show up fully as who they are and be loved and embraced in spiritual community. And if we're not doing that, then I don't even know what the purpose of being a community or a congregation is. And so, Addison, it probably just comes natural to you to know this, but your family is the family that has organized this community marching at MLK Day for so many years. And to me, it feels like that is an extension of this prayer too. That this prayer, because it's not just gays and lesbians who say it, it is allies. And so because I have seen the allyship of folks like your parents and so many others in this community, it strives for me to be a better ally to many other communities as well. And I think that's the beauty. While this prayer is written very specifically, it ripples out so that we all have a place where we can receive the sense of witness and companionship along our unique journey. And at the same time, we're called to show up as allies and companions to other journeys as well. And I just appreciate how you as a young child and your family have modeled for us what that can mean on both parts of that spectrum. So there's an invitation for us to say this prayer together. Sometimes it's, you'll see it says, so to the degree that we each feel comfortable. And I'm really often about people's comfort, but I also think that there are times where we stretch a little bit and sometimes move out of that comfort and try something new or figure out how we can better be an ally to another and put a little of our own ego aside. So I invite you to say this prayer with me. As LGBTQ Jews, we are aware of the loss of integrity we suffer due to pressures of the larger society. We often feel forced into a dishonest presentation of ourselves, to ourselves and others, the LGBTQ individuals who feel they must pretend to be something that they are not. From their tradition and community to win larger acceptance, both are victims of a theft of identity and integrity committed by the sexual, gender, identifying, or religious majority. Creator of the universe, we ask that our hiding draw to an end, that we no longer feel we have to pretend, to promise falsely, to renounce ourselves, and that our fullest creative expression as Jews and as lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer people be among the blessings you bestow upon us. Amen. Our final two prayers. 451 is Mourner's Kaddish. Even in our moments of joy, we still take the opportunity to recognize those who are no longer living and recognize their impact and their legacy upon us. And so I invite those who are observing a yortzeit, the anniversary of a loved one's death, or someone who may be in ritual mourning, I invite you to rise. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube and on Zoom, I invite you to put the names of those that you're remembering today in the chat. We take a moment to honor their names by saying them out loud, and then we'll join together on page 451. If you want to stand in solidarity in the middle of the prayer, you will be more than welcome to do so. Please say their names. Eli Lesser. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing. Yid Kadal, v'Yid Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divra Chirutei, V'Yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon v'Yomechon v'Chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala v'Vizman Kari v'Imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, Le'olam Omei Amaya, Yiparach v'Yishtabach v'Yitpa'ar v'Yitramam v'Yitnasei, V'Tadar v'Yitaleh v'Yitalal Shmei D'Kudsha B'Richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom v'brama, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol Yoshvei Tevel, v'imru, amen. Please be seated. And so in a moment, we're going to say Kiddush and Motzi in this room. And so if there are folks who are going to help with the Motzi, I'm going to invite you to join Abby in doing so. And then on page 459, Adon Olam, Addison and I will lead. Please join us in singing our final prayer.
Adon Olam
Asher Mala B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Sokol Azama Leshemo Nikra Acharei Kitlot HaKol Levado Imot Nora Vehu Haya Vehu We're gonna switch to our other version. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'Terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa, B'Chefso Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon, V'Hu Echad, V'Ein Sheni, Laham Shelo Lehachbira Adon Olam, B'Li Reshit, Beli tachlit, v'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra Adon Olam, Asher malach, B'terem kol Yitzir nivra, Li'et nasa, Chefso kol, Hazai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam, V'hu Eli, v'chai goali, V'tzor chavli b'yetzara Adon Olam, V'hu nisi umanosli, Minat kosi b'yom ekra Adon Olam, Asher malach, B'terem kol Yitzir nivra, Li'et nasa, V'chefso kol, Azai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam, Biya'ado avkiv ruchi, B'yetishan v'ya'ira Adon Olam, Nim ruchi geviyati, Adon Oli v'lo ira Adon Olam, Asher malach b'terem kol, Yitzir nivra, Li'et nasa, V'chefso kol, Azai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam. So I'm going to invite Darcy and Aaron and Addison to join together in the center of the room. Addison, here is your Kiddush cup. They will lead us in the Kiddush. We're going to all rise for the Kiddush. So, and then in a moment, we're passing out for COVID individual challahs. We thought they would be individual rolls, but Samson came and gave us mer the challahs for all of us. There may not be enough for everybody to have one to their own, and you probably wouldn't be able to eat it all anyway. So share with the family that you came with or the family that you made while you were here. So we lift up our cups. Savrei Chavarai L'chaim. So friends, we're going to say the prayer. I was just waiting for a few more chalot to be passed out. If you need a challah, will you put your hand up in the air? Or challah.
Joyful prayer is said. Yeah.